I ended up drunk, sitting on another man's lap, laughing at my husband like he was a joke. Now he's divorcing me in silence. That's the story people are passing around. Like I'm some villain who orchestrated this whole disaster. As if I woke up one morning and thought, today, I'll ruin my marriage for entertainment. But no one cares about the truth. No one wants to hear what I was carrying, what pushed me past the line where I just needed to feel something other than the crushing reality of watching my dad fade away. Jordan and I had been together since college, married 2 years. He was steady, dependable, the kind of man who remembered garbage day and actually listened when I spoke. Most of the time, I adored that. But after Dad's stage 4 pancreatic cancer diagnosis 6 months ago, Jordan's endless patience started to feel like suffocation. He'd check on me in this therapist's tone that made my skin crawl. He'd suggest counseling, or taking time off work, as if any of it could make watching your father rot alive more bearable. The worst part was his quiet acceptance. If I snapped at him for stacking dishes wrong, he'd just fix it. If I tossed all night, he'd rub my back instead of complaining. When I stopped cooking, cleaning, functioning, he simply absorbed the weight. And instead of grateful, I felt like he was handling me like fragile glass, a broken thing. My dad had always been huge in every sense. Loud voice, crude jokes at family dinners, the guy who taught me to fight and change a tire. Now he was gaunt, tethered to tubes, dozing 20 hours a day, vomiting through chemo when awake. Doctors hid behind words like comfortable and quality time, their polite way of saying, he's dying, nothing can save him. Jordan tried. He drove me to every visit, sat in stiff hospital chairs, held space for me without a single complaint. He'd hand me tissues, coffee. But sometimes I caught this look in his eyes, like he was watching me slip away and had no idea how to pull me back. That expression lit something ugly in me. Like he was grieving the wife he used to know instead of letting me collapse in peace. About 3 weeks before it all shattered, I started dreaming Dad was still strong. Taking me fishing like when I was a kid. I'd wake up fooled for a second, then reality would crush me all over again. And Jordan would be there, gently asking if I wanted to talk about it, and all I wanted was to hit that loving, worried face. That's when I started drinking more. Not at work, not in the mornings, just dinner wine that turned into 2 glasses, then 3. Jordan noticed, but stayed quiet. His silence made it worse. I wanted him to fight me, stop me, anything other than calmly watch his wife drown. The night it all detonated started small. Dad had been awake at the hospital, but confused, asking for his mom who'd been dead 15 years. I came home scraped raw, and Jordan was there, cooking, being perfect. "Rough day?" he asked. His tenderness felt unbearable. "I need to unwind," I said. "Really unwind. Can we have people over?" He hesitated. Last time I'd gotten drunk and sobbed for hours, but then nodded. "Whatever you need, babe." Who should I text? I invited our usual crew, Amanda and Owen, Lisa, and Trent. Trent. The wild card. Loud, obnoxious, the guy doing tequila shots on a Tuesday. Usually he irritated me, but lately I clung to his chaotic energy. Around him, I felt like the version of me before cancer and hospitals. Everyone arrived with drinks, smiles too wide, like they were all on a mission. Cheer up, Tina. Instead, it felt like pity. Jordan hovered, keeping an eye on my wine glass. For the first hour, I played along, pizza, card games, laughing at Trent's absurd stories. For a moment, I felt alive. But every time Jordan offered me water or suggested food, it felt like judgment. So I drank harder, out of spite. By 9, I was good and drunk, the kind where grief blurred at the edges. Trent had us doubled over, acting out a disaster date with his boss's daughter, voices and all. My stomach hurt from laughing. I thought, when was the last time Jordan made me feel this way? When had he made me laugh until I forgot everything? That's when he approached. He leaned down with another water and whispered, "Maybe slow down a bit, babe. You've had a lot." The way he said it, soft, measured, infuriatingly reasonable, snapped something in me. For once, I felt human again, and he still wanted to monitor me. Control how I grieved. Control my drinking. Control my collapse. "I'm fine," I said too loud. "I'm having fun. Remember fun, Jordan?" That thing we had before you turned into my grief counselor." The hurt in his eyes stabbed me with guilt, which instantly curdled into rage. The room went still, that heavy quiet that drops when couples air their dirty laundry in front of friends. Jordan just gave a small nod and stepped back, probably thinking he was helping by giving me room. But I didn't want room. I wanted him to push back, to care enough to get angry, to stop acting like my nurse and actually be my husband. So I kept drinking. The calmer he was, the more I gravitated toward Trent's wild, unfiltered presence. Trent wasn't trying to fix me or hover over me. He just let me be, no pity, no gentle corrections. By 10:30, I was venting about Dad, but not the softened version I usually shared. I told them the raw truth. How he'd soiled himself in front of me last week. How the morphine made him talk to ghosts. How some nights I secretly wished he'd just let go so I wouldn't have to keep watching him suffer. Jordan kept catching my eye, silently begging me to steer the conversation somewhere lighter. But for once, I didn't want to protect anyone. I wanted them to sit in it, to see how ugly it really was. "Tina," Jordan said softly. Maybe we should what?" I snapped. "Pretend it's fine. Pretend I'm fine." He went quiet, and I stormed to the kitchen for more wine. When I came back, I caught him exchanging a look with Amanda. That parental glance, like they were managing a reckless child. It made me want to scream. So instead of folding into Jordan's arms when he tried to calm things down with a hug, I dropped myself onto Trent's lap. He stiffened, surprised, but didn't shove me off. And for a second, I felt exactly where I wanted to be, next to someone who wasn't tiptoeing around my grief. "You know what's really messed up?" I said, pressing my back into Trent. I felt Jordan's stare burn through me, but I refused to meet it. My dad is dying, and all I want is for my husband to take me to bed and make me forget it for 5 minutes. But Jordan's idea of passion is checking 3 times if I'm comfortable and making sure we're emotionally aligned. Silence fell like a stone. Even Trent tensed under me, suddenly realizing he wanted no part of this. But I was past caring. Months of swallowing frustration burst out of me like floodwater. "I'm drowning in death and meaninglessness," I went on, voice rising, "and he thinks the answer is therapy talk and slow, careful sex. Sometimes I just want to be touched like I'm still alive, like I matter as a woman, not just a fragile patient." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jordan freeze. Pale. Motionless. Good. Maybe now he'd feel something. "Tina," Lisa tried, cautious. Maybe what?" I cut her off. "Maybe I should be grateful my husband treats me like porcelain? Maybe I should pretend bland, clinical sex is fine because at least he's supportive while my dad dies." The spiral kept pulling me under. I knew it. But it felt good to finally spit it out. "You want the sickest part?" I turned and locked eyes with Jordan. Sometimes I think my dying father would have given me more passion than my own husband. At least he knew how to make someone feel wanted. The words detonated in the room. I knew instantly I'd crossed into a place I couldn't return from. Jordan's face shifted, shock, pain, disgust, then a kind of clarity. He stood, looked at me on another man's lap, and simply walked out. No yelling, no pleading. Just gone. Somehow that quiet exit gutted me more than if he'd screamed. Everyone else scrambled for excuses. Trent practically lifted me off him in his rush to get out. Within 10 minutes, the house was empty. I sat there drunk, realizing I'd torched my marriage not because Jordan was cruel, but because I couldn't stand him being good. I called him. Texted him. 15 missed calls, rambling voicemails that swung between apologies and self-defense. Nothing. By morning, panic set in. He came back, not to talk, but to pack. I begged. Promised I'd quit drinking, find help, change everything. He just looked at me with tired eyes. "I can't compete with something you've made up," he said. "And I can't keep loving someone who doesn't respect me." That was 3 months ago. He moved in with his brother, filed for divorce 2 weeks later. Now he only speaks through lawyers. Most of our friends sided with him, which makes sense. I humiliated him in front of all of them. My dad died 6 weeks after he left. I buried him alone. And the one person who was supposed to be by my side had already walked away for good. Everyone has cast me as the villain. Jordan's family, our friends, even my own mother asks what I was thinking, how I could have said such cruel things. None of them understand what it was like to be married to someone so endlessly patient that I felt myself disappearing. Jordan never argued, never got jealous, never showed anything stronger than soft concern. How was I supposed to feel wanted by a man who treated me more like a patient than a partner? Yes, I crossed lines. Yes, I shouldn't have climbed onto Trent's lap or exposed our sex life in front of everyone. But I was drunk, grieving, desperate for Jordan to care enough to finally fight me instead of retreat. And when he didn't, when he simply walked out, it felt like I wasn't even worth the effort of anger. The divorce went through last month. Jordan kept the house. He could afford it, I couldn't. Now I'm in a run-down one-bedroom, picking up extra shifts to keep the lights on. Meanwhile, Jordan is apparently thriving. Amanda told me he's in therapy, working out, living like a man who's been unshackled. I saw him at the grocery store with some woman I didn't recognize. She laughed at something he said, her hand brushing his arm like it belonged there. They looked easy together. Natural. He looked happy in a way he never did with me, especially near the end. Part of me wanted to remind him I was the one who knew him first, back when he was just a shy college kid fumbling through life. But mostly I just felt hollow, watching him be the best version of himself only after leaving me behind. People say I got exactly what I deserved. That I threw away a good man because I was selfish, cruel, too blind to appreciate what I had. Maybe they're right. Maybe Jordan was the husband I needed, and I was too broken to recognize it. Maybe if I hadn't resented his kindness, we could have faced my father's death together and come out stronger. But part of me knows we were mismatched from the start. Jordan needed someone who would find comfort in his calm, and I needed someone who could meet my fire instead of smothering it. Maybe those ugly words I spat out that night were the truth, just delivered in the worst way possible. I'm not proud of what I did. I'm not proud of how I handled my grief or my marriage. But I'm done pretending I blew up a perfect life for no reason. Our marriage had cracks long before I opened my mouth. The only thing I did was make them visible. I wish I'd realized it sooner, before I gutted him with words that can never be taken back. The hardest part isn't losing Jordan, though that pain runs deep. It's knowing that to everyone else, I'll always be the selfish woman who destroyed true love. They don't see the loneliness of being treated like a problem to manage instead of a person to want. I'm 32 now. Divorced. Alone for the first time. Dad is gone, Jordan is gone, most of our friends are gone. And maybe this is what I earned. Maybe this is karma. But late at night, in this apartment that still smells of someone else's cigarettes, I can't help but think we were doomed anyway. Maybe not this brutally, maybe not this fast, but we were never built to last. So yes, I sat on another man's lap and mocked my husband. And yes, he divorced me without a fight. Everyone sees me as the villain, and maybe I am. But I also told the truth neither of us wanted to face. Sometimes the cruelest thing you do ends up being the most honest.